W3, the probability when throwing a dice. When throwing a dice, we're talking about a six-sided dice that goes from 1 to 6. So the outcomes can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. There are other types of dice that you can throw, but this is what normally gets asked about. But always be careful when you're reading the question because it might say a 10-sided dice. So if we are looking at the probability of, let's say, a 2 coming up, you look at the number of outcomes. There are 6, so that becomes your denominator. And then you say how many times the 2 would come up, which is just once out of the outcomes. So the chance would be 1/6. It's quite tricky to turn that into a percentage or a decimal. You could use your FDP triangle to work that out, but it's a good idea to try and just memorise these. The chance of it as a decimal would be 0.16, and as a percentage would be 16.6%. Chances are you're not going to be asked about either of those last two. Okay, so if we're looking at that dice again, you can calculate what the chances are of an even number coming up. Well, our even numbers would be 2, 4, or 6. So the total number of outcomes is 6, which goes on the bottom. The ones which are even are 3. You can simplify that to make 1/2. If you're asked the question, what's the chance of a number greater than 1 coming up? Well, that would be 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, or 6. So total number of outcomes would be 6 when throwing a dice. 5 of those are greater than 1. That fraction can't be simplified. If you're looking at the chance of a 7 being thrown, well, that is impossible because there isn't a 7 on the dice. So that is what we would call impossible. We'd give it a value of 0.